There are places on this continent, patches of wilderness, often clustered around national parks, where the rules of physics and logic simply fall away, where people, good people, strong people, vanish without a trace, leaving behind only impossible questions. My name is David Paulides, and for years I've investigated these disappearances, compiling the evidence into what I call the missing 411 phenomenon. Today, we're going deep into the North Cascades of Washington State, a location that recently delivered a case with all the classic, terrifying hallmarks, a case that truly defies explanation. This is the story of Robert Schoch, an elite athlete who went out for what should have been a simple hike and entered a nightmare dimension. Robert Schoch was 39 years old, a man with the physical and mental fortitude of an Ironman competitor, the kind of person you would never expect to become a missing 411 statistic. He was an IT entrepreneur, incredibly strong, and he knew the backcountry well, having lived nearby in Mount Vernon. But when he vanished in August of 2024, he was living in Ohio, making his sudden cross-country trip to Washington even stranger. Robert offered vague, conflicting reasons to his family: a trip financed by a writer or perhaps business, a lack of clear, logical intent for such a demanding journey. The most critical piece of this terrifying puzzle is Freddy, his loyal chocolate lab. Jan, Robert's mother, made it crystal clear Robert would never voluntarily abandon that dog. Freddy was his shadow, his family, and his warning system on the trail. On August 4th, days after Jan's last call, the Whatcom County Sheriff's Humane Society contacted her. Freddy had been found alone. The dog was located 8 miles in on the Chilliwack River Trail, a significant distance for a day hike, especially with a dog that had a known hip injury. Here's the first dark detail. The Park Service described Freddy as thirsty, hungry, and suffering from hot spots, all while being found next to a large, rushing river. How could a dog found literally at the water's edge be described as dehydrated? It is an environmental anomaly, an impossible detail. The dog had clearly been under some severe duress or had traveled an impossible distance without stopping to drink, a terrifying possibility. When Robert was reported missing, deputies located his car at the Hannigan Pass trailhead, the starting point for his apparent journey. Inside the vehicle, we find the classic, chilling hallmarks of a missing 411 case. The window was rolled halfway down, and sitting on the dashboard, in plain sight, was Robert's wallet, complete with his driver's license and credit cards. The identification was present, but the money was gone. Why leave your wallet visible through a partially opened window if you intended to return shortly? It suggests extreme urgency, or maybe a deeper manipulation. The presence of the wallet suggests the person who put it there was done with it, or perhaps the entity that took Robert had no need for human currency. Witnesses confirmed Robert only had a day pack, suggesting a short trip. Yet Freddy was found miles deep, alone, and traumatized. If Robert had suffered a simple injury, he would be found. If he was attacked by a bear, there would be blood and signs of struggle. But there was only silence. The most disturbing part of the investigation was the failure of the authorities to deploy necessary resources. Despite the dog being found 8 miles in, providing a perfect scent start, the Sheriff's Department initially refused to use canines. Their excuse: the area was too wide open, a nonsensical reason that undermines standard search protocols and aligns with what we see in other suppressed missing 411 investigations. This omission, along with the lack of drone usage, suggests either staggering incompetence or a deliberate obstruction by some unseen entity, perhaps within the National Park Service itself. The North Cascades is not just a random location. It is a region of high strangeness, a documented cluster zone. In the same time frame Robert Schoch went missing, another hiker vanished in the region. The terrain is brutal, isolated, and unforgiving. The Chilliwack River Trail runs right up against the Canadian border, making it a possible corridor for creatures like cryptids or perhaps something far older and more alien. What if Robert didn't simply get lost? What if he stumbled into a temporary dimensional rift, an instability that warps time, dissolves rational thought, and snatches people away? This unknown force often confuses, disorients, and separates the victim from their closest tether, which in this case was poor Freddy, a dog smart enough to run away from the danger zone. 30 days passed. Robert Schoch was officially categorized as another cold case, another name lost to the terrifying depths of the missing 411 files. But on August 30th, 30 days into the nightmare, a miracle happened. A trail crew working in the Chilliwack Basin heard a faint call. They found Robert Schoch alive, but barely, emaciated, sunbaked, and clinging to life. He was only a day or two from death. It was an incredible feat of survival, a testament to his sheer will. But the horror of this case didn't end with the rescue. It began. Robert was immobile for nearly 2 weeks before he was found, suffering from extreme, time-altering delirium. When the rescue crew first approached, Robert screamed that he saw a pack of starving wolves creeping toward him over the river rocks. Not human beings. Only as they drew closer did his mind clear enough to recognize them as people. Or was it a memory of an encounter, a terrifying residual effect of what truly held him? And what about the time? 30 days of lost consciousness. He was found relatively close to where he was last sighted. Where did the hours, the weeks, truly go? Robert returned with his life. But like so many who come back from these deep woods encounters, he returned with scars on his soul, a story he cannot fully articulate. He swore he would never return to the North Cascades. A common reaction among those who experienced the missing 411 phenomenon and somehow managed to escape. Robert Schoch survived, but the dark forces operating in that wilderness took something from him, too, leaving him aged, wary, and haunted by his ordeal. The data is clear. Robert was lost, immobile, near a rushing body of water in a known cluster. He survived an impossible time. We celebrate his survival, but we cannot ignore the bizarre, inexplicable circumstances of his disappearance. The dog left behind, the wallet on the dash, the failure of the search. The wilderness is not always what it seems, and sometimes when the dog leaves and the identification is left behind, it's not a mistake. It is a signature, a terrifying warning. We will continue to document the clusters. We will continue to ask the questions the authorities refuse to answer. Be aware of what is truly out there.